Hi, everyone. Welcome. Marc Margolius, the Institute for Jewish Spirituality, and happy Thursday today, the 21st day of Elul, coming up on about just a week left in the year 5783 before we move into Rosh Hashanah. And it's wonderful to have this opportunity to gather as a community for practice together for our Jewish mindfulness meditation practice. We meet at this time Monday through Fridays, 12:30 to 1 p.m. Eastern, followed by 15 minutes of conversation, of discussion and processing of the practice. And on Mondays, of course, we also offer our Jewish yoga studio with Kinder Lizzie Shamash. Highly recommended. All the sessions live streamed on our YouTube channel. So if you're joining us on YouTube today, welcome. Whether you're watching live with us live or whether you're practicing with the recording, we're happy to have you with us. And IJS is happy to make these daily offerings available without charge and have done so for over 3.5 years now. We're able to do that because of your support for our work, which takes the form of showing up for this practice and creating this community of practice together. And of course, we can't do it without your financial support. If you're so inclined and in a position to do so, we're grateful for that in any amount. And thanks to Andrew Schumann, who's holding our tech space today, for putting the link in the chat. Maybe refer to that later if you're not in a position to go there now, and just make a mental note to support our work by making a contribution. And again, we're grateful for those in any amount. And of course, if you're in a position to offer a gift of $180 or more, you can sponsor one of these daily meditations, and we're grateful to those of you who might be able to consider that as well. Before we begin our practice today, I just want to, I regret I didn't announce this earlier this week, but better late than never. I just want to let people know that next week, we will be meeting Monday through Thursday. The IJS office is closed on Friday in preparation for Rosh Hashanah. So we'll have a 4-day session next week, and I'm delighted that all 4 sessions will be led by Rabbi Sam Feinsmith on the theme of teshuvah, of turning, in preparation for Rosh Hashanah. So we'll have 4 beautiful days of practice consecutively. If you missed any, of course, they're all, as usual, recorded and posted on our YouTube channel, of opportunity to practice and prepare ourselves inwardly for the new year with Rabbi Sam Feinsmith. Very much looking forward to that next week. So please spread the word. Anyone you think would benefit from that as well. So let's turn to our practice for today. And this week we have our Torah reading on Shabbat is a double Torah portion, Nitzavim Vayelech, towards the very end of the Torah. And there's a parallel between where we are in the Jewish spiritual cycle and where Moses is in the Torah cycle. In that, for those of you who have been reading along with Alan Liu's book, This is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared, we too, like Moses, are kind of rehearsing for our own death. We are coming face to face with the reality of our mortality, whether it's imminent or whether it's off. We're just becoming more aware and opening ourselves to more awareness of our finitude and the limits of our life in this reality. That's happening with Moses as well. And as it turns out, his rhetorical powers really reach their heights in these last few Torah portions, and especially in these 2, Nitzavim Vayelech. As you may know, one of the names for Rosh Hashanah is Yom HaZikaron, the Day of Remembrance. And Zikaron, remembrance, is a theme that runs really throughout the high holidays. Many of the prayers feature that verb. There's a section of the additional service on Rosh Hashanah, the Musaf service, called Zichronot, which is really about God remembering or being mindful of us. Of course, on Yom Kippur, we have Yizkor. We have Ela Ezkara, which is the martyrology service, which takes place on Yom Kippur. So memory and remembrance is a major theme in these holidays. And of course, it's a major theme in Judaism altogether, remembrance and history and the power of memory. However, on the other hand, as there usually is in our tradition, there is another stream that that creates a little bit of a paradox with this injunction to remember. We notice this as well around the teaching in the Torah around Amalek, which is also in the book of Deuteronomy, where we're enjoined to remember Amalek. Amalek is the character or the tribe in the Torah that's seen as kind of the arch nemesis of the Israelites, the embodiment of evil, the representation of evil. And we're enjoined to remember Amalek, but eventually when we get into the land, when the Israelites get into the land, to wipe out the memory of Amalek from under the heavens. That is, there's something paradoxical about remembering and about forgetting. Rabbi Avital Hochstein, who is a teacher with Mechon Hadar, the Hadar Institute, is in Israel, wrote a beautiful piece, beautiful Devar Torah on these Torah portions, Nitzavim Vayelech, where she holds up the idea that actually, even as we're moving into this season of remembering all our deeds and really looking closely at everything that has happened for us over the course of the year and identifying that for which we're regretful, that for which we'd like to make tshuva, that which we'd like to do differently next time. We're working hard to remember and do a cheshbon, an account, take an account and really look closely and remember everything we can. That's on the one hand. But on the other hand, in Parshat Nitzavim, she says there's a teaching that actually lifts up forgetfulness, forgetting, shichacha in Hebrew, as also a spiritual practice, which is essential to the process of renewal. And this is how she gets it. And Andrew, if you don't mind, Andrew will put a link for those of you who want to read the full Devar Torah by Rabbi Hochstein later. You're invited to do so. We'll give you the link for that. So she focuses on what is probably one of the most famous aspects of this Torah portion, in which Moses says to the people, Lo vashamayim hi, it is not in heaven that you should say, who shall go up for us to heaven and bring it to us and make us hear it so we can do it. Nor is it beyond the sea that you should say, who shall cross the sea for us and bring it to us and make us hear it that we may do it. And then he says, Ki karov elecha hadavar ma'od. The thing, the davar, the word, whatever that is, the thing is very close to you. Karov elecha hadavar ma'od. Beficha uvilvavcha. It's in your mouth and it's in your heart, la'asoto, to do it. Not in the heavens. So Rabbi Hochstein lifts up a legend, a midrash that's in the Talmud about the aftermath after the death of Moses, which says that in the Shiva period after Moses died, 3,000 traditions and laws were forgotten that he had taught. That's quite a few, since considering there are 613 mitzvot. There was in the midst of the grief and the loss and the transition from the leadership of Moses to the leadership of Joshua, there was a forgetting of the laws, and the people realized that, and they said to Joshua, hey, we got to remember what happened. Go ask God what we forgot. And Joshua responds to the people by citing what Moses teaches in this parasha, in this Torah portion, Lo vashamayim hi, says that's not available. I can't go back and ask because it is not in heaven. We can't get the answers from heaven. Now the answers have to come from us. And she lifts this up to make the point that without forgetfulness, without discontinuity, without fragmentation, a future that is different from the past is not really possible. If all we do is remember the past perfectly, we may be contrary to the proverb, we might be condemned to repeat that past if all we can do is remember it and hold on to it too tightly. And I'll just quote her here. She writes, this awareness leads us to understand there can be merit to forgetfulness. When one is faced with a new reality, there's a certain advantage to doubts. Only through doubt and questions can the future be something different, rather than a replication, a copy of the world that was. Only through forgetfulness can a world with the potential of renewal exist, a world that's not static or dead, but rather relevant. The Talmudic Haggadah about Moses' death, the one I just described, teaches us there can be no continuity of tradition that doesn't include forgetfulness. There's no continuity without a certain measure of fragmentation. A perfect replication of past circumstances can only lead to stagnation and ultimately to death. So for our practice today, I want to invite us to explore the relationship between remembering and forgetting. In our process of tshuva, we are enjoined to remember and to recall aspects of the past that we regret so that we can learn from them and hopefully transform our behavior and act differently when we're presented with the same conditions in the future. In fact, that is in rabbinic tradition, the definition of a Baal Tshuva, a master of return, is somebody who, faced with the same conditions in which they transgressed the first time, actually behaves differently in the next time, actually changes the behavior under the same circumstances. So we're meant to remember, but we are not meant to be caught up or to cling too tightly or to hold too tightly to shame or guilt or regret or resentment or grudges. These interfere with our ability to transform, to move forward, to become newly created beings in the new world. So there is an interplay between memory and forgetfulness where we are to notice what it is that we remember that serves us to become the people we hope to be, and when to forget that which we no longer need, that which no longer serves us, that which no longer serves holy purposes. When can we let that go? Whether it's in relation to another person and forgiving them, or letting go of the past, maybe without forgiving, but letting go of a grudge, letting go of a resentment, forgetting in that sense. And when it's time for us to let go or forget, as it were, something that has happened, something that we have done in the past, and to relegate it, or when we are perseverating, obsessing, lost in self-recrimination or blame of others. So for our practice today, I want to invite us to explore this in meditation practice on a very small scale, because when we're sitting in meditation, of course, it's a given that our mind's going to wander. It's going to start constructing some stories to entertain us if we're feeling bored or agitated in some way, or there might be something, eating at us or sitting there in our subconscious that's going to come up for us. And all of that is grist for the mill. What I'm going to invite us to do today is to notice where our minds go, and whether you would consider what your mind is constructing a memory, a retelling of something that happened. It might be something that just happened, just a few seconds ago as we're sitting here, that comes up for you. And the question is, how well can we, as we notice and remember what happened even just a moment ago, can we decide, can we make a choice, a free choice, a bechira, a choice to let it go, to forget it, and to move forward into the next breath, the next sensation, the next sound, the next moment, fresh, unencumbered by what we are recalling. Or when we might want to say, actually, that's a useful bit of data here, or that's a useful bit of information, or there's something there that I really it would serve me to hold on to. So it's a process of discernment as we sit here to sift through memories as they are being created or called up, where we can discern, in fact, whether to hold on to them, or whether we can begin to let them go and loosen our hold on it. So I particularly invite you to notice if there's any self-recrimination that comes up, harsh self-judgment, self-blame, maybe excessive guilt or excessive shame, or excessive blame or resentment or grudges, or thinking and getting stuck in a story. So that's our invitation for today. But although, of course, feel free, take it or leave it. In any case, we're going to sit together for the next 12 minutes or so in silence. So let's begin by just finding a position that feels comfortable for each one of us. And just take note of how you're doing in your body today and adjust yourself in the seat and really anchor yourself right now in this time and this place, in this breath. And as always, let your hands rest wherever is comfortable for them, by your side or hold it in your lap or resting on top of your thighs. Rolling the shoulders back and down, opening your heart space. Many of us like to place one or even both hands over that heart space to offer a loving connection, loving kindness towards yourself, support yourself. So that's an option. Some like to turn the corners of their mouths up in a little smile. See what that does for you. That shift things. And imagine the crown of your head lifting up towards the sky, connecting heaven and earth. And as Rabbi Daniel reminded us yesterday, just choose your anchor for your attention, something that you'll come back to, your makom, your place to return to, whether it's the breath arising and falling, or any sensation in your body, soles of your feet, sensation of the chair or the seat that you're on, temperature of the air in the room against your skin, or the soundscape in your space, the buzz of an air conditioner or refrigerator. And the invitation, once again, is as the mind drifts away from that anchor, that makom, starts telling a story, starts remembering something, see if you need to remember it. See if it's helpful to remember it. See if it serves a sacred purpose to remember it, or if it might serve a sacred purpose to let it go and come back to the place, come back to your anchor. So let's sit together. being aware of the presence of so many others sitting with us right now, just breathing, just being together. See if we can be mindful, be conscious of sharing this practice right now with so many others' souls. Notice the power that adds to the practice of being in a community. Community which is exploring the power of memory and forgetfulness, and seeing if memory serves us or holds us back from being who we're meant to be. Can we remember in order to forget? The last few minutes of our sit together, as we are sitting here about to move into the final week of this year. What are we remembering about this year for ourselves? What do we regret? Where might we improve? How might we do better? How might we come closer to being the people we're meant to be? And we remember those things, those actions, those words, or the inaction, or the failure to speak. And we remember them well enough to learn from them, to turn, and then to let them go. so they don't hold us back. So if your eyes have been closed, but you begin to let them open slowly, taking your time, no rush. Maybe wiggle your toes or rub your hands together. Offer yourself some gratitude and compassion for your day and for showing up for practice today. And in a moment, I'll play a video recording that Cantor Jan Mahler made of herself sounding the shofar. Jan's not able to be here live today. Some of you may know we've had some sound issues on the Zoom, but Jan recorded playing the sounds of the shofar for us. And today is 46th wedding anniversary for herself and her husband, David. So we want to say Mazal Tov and blessings for many years of health and joy for her. And of course, the sounds of the shofar begin and end with a whole note. But in between those, tekiah at the beginning, the tekiah at the end is shvarim and truah, 3 broken notes and 9 staccato notes. So that fragmentation, the brokenness, is represented in the middle, and it's sandwiched between two whole sustained notes, and especially the one at the end, the tekiah gadola, representing the continuity that we seek, and also our capacity to let go and to embrace our brokenness. So let's attune ourselves to the sound of the shofar. And friends, we seal the practice today, as we do every day, by offering those of you who are in mourning, observing Yartzeit, if it's your custom to join in the Kaddish, to do so. Thanks to Andrew for sharing the words on the screen. You could put the name or names of those you're remembering in the chat. If you're not reciting Kaddish, if you can, please stay present for those who are, and offer your kind support and compassion for them. And if you are reciting Kaddish, I invite you to join me by rising in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time to recite the words together. Yitgadal, Yitgadash, Shemei Rabbi, Yalmad, Shmei Rabba Mevarach, Lam V'Lamei Amayla, Yishpach V'Yishtabach, Yipa'ar V'Yishram V'Yipasei, Yitzhar V'Yikamed, V'Yishma V'Yishma V'Ela Yikot Yirchata V'Shirata, Ushbechata V'Nechamata, V'Amiran V'Chama V'Amru,
Rabbi Mishmaya,
Shalom be
Shalom,
Amen.
Amen.
And thank you so much. Thanks, Andrew, if you can take down the words of the Kaddish. And thanks, everyone, for being here today. Thanks to Andrew Schumann for holding our space with skill and grace, as always. And thanks to each of you for being here. Just a reminder, if you came on a little bit late, next week, We'll be meeting just Monday through Thursday, as IJS is closed on Friday to prepare for Rosh Hashanah. But Rabbi Sam Feinsmith will be leading a series all next week, Monday through Thursday, on the theme of Teshuvah, of turning in preparation for Rosh Hashanah. So really hope you'll join us for any or all of those sessions, and to join us tomorrow to sit into Shabbat together with Rebecca Schisler. I'm happy to stay on and respond to questions in the chat or just your reflections on your experience with the practice today. If you're leaving us now, we hope to see you tomorrow to prepare for Shabbat together with Rebecca. And thanks for being here, and we hope you stay safe and well. So keep an eye on the chat. And all right, it's a question from Jeff. What's the relationship between doubt and forgetfulness? It's a good question. So Rabbi Hochstein put the link, by the way, to her beautiful Devar Torah. She's really an extraordinary teacher. Uses those kind of interchangeably. She uses doubt, fragmentation, and forgetfulness. Similar terms, maybe not identical. And I guess the way I understand it is that memory represents this kind of unbroken continuity of repetition, of remembering something. And so that's the impulse to have something that is continuous. But her point in the Devar Torah is that there are disruptions in that line of memory, of continuity, which are essential for renewal and change and transformation that need to take place. That if we remember too well, then we're going to be stuck and not able to adapt and grow and change and evolve as we need to in order to continue to flourish, whether that's collectively as a people or individually or as a planet for that matter. And so forgetting and doubts and questions about the past or discontinuities in some way represent that opportunity for something new to take root. And it's a beautiful, I really encourage you to read her beautiful Devar Torah in its entirety. It's just a few pages. But I think there's something really powerful there. And it's interesting that we can see it reflected in the sound of the shofar, of that first tekiah, that's unbroken sound, and then the shvarim, 3 broken notes, and then the truah, 9 staccato notes, all broken up into little bits. And then all of that gets transmuted into another tekiah, a tekiah gedolah, that long tekiah, which integrates the brokenness in some way. So I really like that. And I also, I will mention, I can't remember, we'll see if I can find this piece. I read something which I thought was also quite beautiful in the same vein. I believe it's Rabbi Shoshana Gelfand writing in Reform Judaism about Yizkor, the service on Yom Kippur and on other holidays when we remember loved ones we've lost, where she makes the point that the remembering that we do on Yizkor is actually of a different nature than during Shiva or Shloshim, when it's more in proximity to the death, where we're really focused on memories of the person we've lost, really trying to kind of make that transition from the person as a living presence in our life to a living presence in an immaterial or non-physical way. But I think she argues that on Yizkor, we actually undergo a process as we remember these people year by year of letting go of the aspects of our memory of them that no longer serve us, which I think psychologically can be quite interesting in terms of healing our relationships with those we've lost, and remembering them, or choosing to remember those aspects of them that serve us well, and the aspects of them that may not serve us as well, to not be bound by them, not be imprisoned by them, not be constricted by those memories. and to make a choice to forget, meaning really to let them go, or to let go, to hold less tightly to the memory. Okay, let me take a look at the questions. Okay, Lori's question. A couple of difficult memories that cause pain and don't serve me, but I'm aware I'm not letting them go. At some level, they help me remember why I am the way I am or justify to others. Well, I don't know that there's any answer. It's a great question, Laurie, about memories, remembering things that don't serve us, but remembering them enough to understand who we are. So maybe that's why a black and white of remember or forget is not really the right formula here, but there can be something in between also that is about kind of loosening our grip on that memory so that it's still there and we still remember it, but we're not subject to the memory. We're not powerless in relationship to the memory. I guess this is probably particularly so when it comes to trauma and, and deep pain and deep woundedness, whether we've inflicted on others or others have inflicted those on us. And let's see. Oh, there's a joke. Good. Let me see. Where's the joke? I missed the joke.
It's I don't remember whose quote this is. Jews have many faults, but amnesia is not one of them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, all right. Thank you for that, Devorah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing, we are famous for our memory. And it is, I think, very helpful to have this kind of counterpoint to it. It may be that memory and remembrance is the predominant theme, but if it were the only theme, it would be problematic. The capacity to loosen our grips. And one other element in that in Jewish tradition, I just want to bring up before we end, is this mitzvah of shichacha, which is the mitzvah from the Torah, that when one is harvesting one's fields or gleaning in one's fields, if you forget and leave behind some of the produce, it is meant to be left for the poor, the needy, and the stranger. And so it's actually a mitzvah in which forgetting is a positive thing. It leads to something positive, to feeding the needy in that way. So that's just one more instance of forgetfulness or letting go. As this might be a helpful kavanah or intention as well for tashlich, the custom that you might be familiar with. Usually on Rosh Hashanah, of going to a body of water and casting breadcrumbs into the water, symbolically casting off our transgressions, our sins, our transgressions, our missings, the marks, as a way of letting go. Might be an interesting kavanah about identifying those things that we are regretful about, but not being held back by that memory, not being caught. Okay. I think we'll leave it there for now. All right, friends. Wonderful to share this with you, and thanks, Andrew, for holding our space. Thanks to each of you, as always, for being here in this extraordinary community, and hope to see you tomorrow to practice with Rebecca Schisler and sit into Shabbat Nitzavim Vayelach together. So be well, everyone. An early Shabbat Shalom. If we don't see you tomorrow, many blessings.